Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript party and my sidekick Rhett over here, just hanging out and writing some code. So we've run into this dreaded expression change after it has been checked error. And I don't believe this was here before I did the Angular 18 to 19 upgrade. I suspect what's happening is that the something just some timing has changed, and so, but basically what happens is, and yeah, it did a good bit of debugging yesterday. Oh, I wanted to add something to my README. Separate the concept of the showtime state from the ThreeJS state. 3JS is not a good source of truth, truth, because it does not store all of the data care about. All right. So, anyways, the problem is that it's trying to draw out this value, but the value changes. So it never gets a chance to draw it out. Um, and this is pretty classic. I've seen this sort of thing a lot. Um, and a lot of times where I'll see it happen is like I think one pattern that makes a lot of sense is when you build out you might build out a large component and you have all the pieces, and then you start to break out small pieces uh, to make like other smaller components, to componentize it, so you get it all working as one big piece, and then you start breaking out and suddenly you start seeing these expression timing errors, and that is I it's something that I experienced a lot. And it's just timing changes as you move things into different components and stuff. But I think there was some sort of timing change between Angular 18 and Angular 19. So this camera item aspect, it sees it as a one, and then suddenly it gets changed as a zero. Then so so what we realized yesterday was basically this camera, this object that we have, which is so this array here is like holds this camera item, and um, it doesn't matter, and then what I get a reference to the camera item, and then one of the underlying values of that camera item changes. Like, so one of the attributes of that camera item changes, and so the this camera is this guy here has that reference, and so it changes, and then Angular kind of throws an error where it's like, look, it was one, and then it changed to 1.7. I believe it's 1.7 that it changed to. Um, it changed to 1.57, and I never got a chance to draw it as a one. And so, I guess maybe they've the folks over there on the Angler team have come with the conclusion. For some reason, my cat was hanging out right here, so I'm trying to pay special attention and make sure she doesn't go up there. Although her and the cat generally get along really well, but the bird and the cat, but you can never be too careful. But anyways, so it's like, hey, like this was one, and now it's 1.57. I never got a chance to draw it as one, right? Which honestly, like if you're a web developer, generally you don't care that that changed. But I guess it is kind of a red flag, or something, like where it's just kind of like, are you sure? Like, are you sure this should be changing like that? It seems like you may not have a good grip on exactly what's going on. And I guess that is the case, because it did take me a long time to figure out how it even got to 1.7. Um, so, basically, like if we go over here to the camera, it's 1.57. Um, so that's a thing. So then it's kind of like, okay, so what do you do? What are we going to do about that? First of all, it seems like it's weird that I'm not getting two effects, right? I only get one effect, um, right? Like if I were to create um, a variable like effect count, and I'll set it to 0, and then every time this effect fires, I'll increment it. Right? I think I can do that. And then, like, let's say on this page, I just, right before the table, I just print out the effect count. Right, so I keep going to the wrong thing. So that's this up here, right? So let's go ahead and make this a little bit more. Let's put this in its own div. Effect count. So we know that it starts off at 1 and then it goes to 1.57. So we would expect to see two effects, but we only see the one effect. And so, and then, so that to me is like, okay, I would expect to see two effects. So why am I not getting two effects? I don't know if this is going to fix the problem, but it seems like the first step towards just sort of making this code rational and more understandable is making it act in a rational way. And a rational way is if it was 1 and then it was 1.57, like announce that, like don't just change to 1.57, but actually publish that it's 1.57. Um, so because I was pretty shocked, when it wasn't. So in the ThreeJS, we know that it gets called here, but what we don't understand is why that aspect ratio of the camera is changing, right? So um, I don't know even what that's all about. Let me look at that in my ThreeJS service. Okay, so there's that. And there's where I added that and I told it to wait a whole second. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this code. I don't think there's anything we want to keep. And then, yeah, it's saving. Inspect, console. So basically, if we go to our camera, we see that the effect count is only 1, but the value was 1.7, right? So like, and what we want is for like it to publish when it was 1 point, whatever changes to 1.57. So something changed that value to 1.57, and we would like another publish when that happens. So so let's see what setup camera does. Well, so I guess I'm just like kind of you know it's not super obvious to me what's happening right now. So, and that's the thing is it should be. So let's try to find anywhere where this aspect gets set and at least try to figure out where the heck it is changing to 1.57. Looks like this might be it, right? Constructor, what is this? So in the constructor of the perspective form component, no, so that's not it. I don't think this is it. This is if you change it in the form. We're not even rendering. The form probably doesn't even exist yet. What about this? And this is just where we're using it. Okay, camera item dot aspect. This is our update. This is where we set it up, and we don't actually ever do we actually update the value here, but I don't see why we would change the initial value. What if we just get rid of that dot? I wonder if that dot is hiding anything. Okay, so here's where our camera interface, and then here's where we set it to 1 to begin with. So when we create the camera item, we default it to 1. And this just happens in the what is this? This is something called the camera service. All right. My cat is very curious about the bird. But so we're defaulting to 1 here. So we know where the 1 is coming from. But where is it getting set to 1.5? I don't know if this is... So this is where we're actually setting the ThreeJS camera, I'm guessing. We're setting it to this camera aspect. So I would imagine that is getting set to 1 right there. So I never even see that setting the ThreeJS camera aspect. So that does not seem to be part of the issue. Oh, set dims. So here something is happening and it's just sort of happening. It's not even like... Okay, so let's say console.log set dims. So I'm guessing this is never being... We should probably publish at this point. Now my Jack Russell is being weird. Let's see. Inspect. So set dims is that. See, we should have another effect at this point. We should be publishing the fact that the camera just got updated. So let's do this. Now, let's see. Okay, so publish the camera. Now I don't know where set dims gets called from, so let's check that out. See, it's probably from within this, but it may not be. Oh, so it's not even getting called from here. So let's see where we. So update camera, we do a publish. I don't even know if this is a good idea. Just see what happens here. See if we get caught in some kind of weird loop or something. Okay, so at least we have our two effects now, right? Hopefully if we go over here we see, no. So it's weird because we have effect 1, oh well, effect question mark, effect question mark. Oh, but I guess we're printing it out twice. Oh, with a console log. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. That's a bit of a confusing. Okay, so okay, so oh my gosh. Put that here. Okay, so set dims got called. You would have thought that the effect would get called at this point. What did I do? Let's see. Camera item signal. So in set dims, Daisy get. I think my dog's just trying to be nice, but okay. So camera item signal. I wonder why. See, I thought that this would publish the fact that there was a change. Oh, but it's still the same object. So it ignores the call because even though a value within the attribute has changed, the actual object is not has not changed. So we need this to be a different object, um, a different array, right? So and you'll see that I do this, or I do this all over the place. I believe I typically will use something along these lines to do that. Just an array dot dot dot, and then what this does is basically it's going to be the same internal item. It's just a different. Now I don't know if this gets us what we want, but here, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. So like within signals, I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I do not think, I think what it has is a reference to the array. So that's just an address. And that address has since that address hasn't changed, it it won't actually publish a change because it's like it's the same thing, even though something within that address, one of the objects within that address has changed. Yep. So that I did, like I said, I didn't know that this was going to call. I didn't think this was going to fix the problem, but I did think that it would make the code more reasonable, like more easy to reason about. And that's really a good thing in general, is being able to understand what's going on at least. Like a lot of times people try to fix things without understanding them. Like that is like okay, I just got it working. And then say like this dot camera item dot aspect. So I believe what's going to happen here now is that we'll see the first time that he got called that it was a 1, and the second time that he got called that it was a yeah. So effect was called and called 1, and it was not even defined yet. It was undefined. And then the second time it was called, which is weird. Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and let's put a debug statement there. Oh, I already had one. Okay, so let's refresh. So this effect count was 1. The camera item doesn't even exist. Right, so the very first time this gets called, oh, it doesn't exist because we haven't. Okay, let me swap that around. Console log. So I think this is a string right here. So I believe it won't update it. If we did the whole object, actually, let me see. So these things are always changing. It's good to know how it's going. I think Rhett's trying to figure out. Are you trying to make the show more interesting? You trying to make it more interesting? Um, so let's see what we get in our console log first. Undefined. Let's see. Oh, because I still have it. Oh my gosh. That was a good call, Rhett. I'm being weird. Okay. So camera item still has not even been set yet. I have no idea why I'm trying to console log it. Let's try this again, as Rhett would say. Let's see. So you see that it's 1 here. Now, sometimes, and I don't know exactly, it used to be always. Okay, so you see how the aspect up here is showing 1, but when we read it in here, it's showing 1.57. So it's showing the current value, I'm guessing, of what was in there. So when this came through the first time, it was 1. And then the next time, then over here it got set, and then it got recalled again, and it's 1.57. So first things first, the code is behaving as in a rational way, right? Like, but on the bad side, we're getting this expression change after it was a 1. Current value is 2. Oh, it is upset about this value because I was showing it in here. So it was like, hey, it was 1 and now it's 2. I never even got a chance to happen. So like the time, okay, this is what I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe what happened was the time between this call and this call was less than 1/60th of a second. So it tried to write the one out, but it never got a chance to write the one. It went straight to two, and that's what's complaining about. Now I think that if we get rid of that in the HTML, that bug will go away, but then the other one will come back, right? So the effective count, it's not going to complain about the effective count being wrong anymore. But now it's saying that the actual value was changed. So basically, it's kind of like the problem. If you boil it down, the problem is that um, the the camera is initially set to one, and then it gets reset, and one is like if this was a square, right? So the camera is being set up so that it's showing a square, and then it's suddenly being reset to 1.57 because it's not a square based on the dimensions. And all of that's happening so fast that the that Angular and the browser doesn't have a chance to ever write the one. It went from 1 to 1.57. That was not happening before in Angular 18, but now it's happening in Angular um, 19, and that's probably just because um, the the way that they're the life cycles, or probably just the way that they're transpiling the TypeScript into like nested components has altered in some very probably very minor way, but it has changed the timing, and now the the resize is happening. Um, you know, which like we kind of saw in the like something that changed because the application didn't work at all, because when it was initially trying to do the calculations, it was the size of the dim, the CSS that told it to take up 50% of the size wasn't being executed before it was trying to calculate the time. So it is possible that I had to change sort of the ordering. I had to change the life cycle hook that these that this size got calculated in. So that could maybe had it been that other life cycle hook in Angular 18, maybe it still would have been broken. Who knows? But basically, maybe that one fix cascaded into this other issue. So I think that basically by what probably the ideal way to do this would be to add like a another attribute to the camera item interface that says like whether it's been initialized or not. And if basically once that resize happens, it would set it to initialize to true, and it would um, then it would update the data, right? So basically, we'll just be like animated, but it'd be initialized, and it's a boolean, and it's required. And then when we initially set it up, we'll say that it's not initialized, so that's false. And then we'll say in this thing here, we'll say don't set the camera item unless it's been initialized, so that it never even sets it. And then it would get it. It would set it once it's been initialized. I think that will work. We might get like a complaint that um, it was undefined, went from undefined to that. But let's see. Yeah, so that could be a problem. So, But anyways, I think that's what I would try tomorrow. Let's see. Yeah, this is another 30-minute video. Yeah, I can't even begin to tell you how much time I have spent in the past running down these exact issues with this exact error. Um, it's just like when I see that error, I know I better dig in because it's going to take a while to figure out how everything's connected. I will say that 9 times out of 10, once I've gone through, just like in this case, once I've gone through and figured it all out and gotten it resolved, the code makes more sense, is much more reasonable. But it's always kind of like, really? I mean, was it worth the time? I mean, now this is in the last 2 days we spent a full hour um, trying to run down this. When it's all said and done, the code is probably going to be better. Was it worth it? Probably. It probably is worth it, but it sure doesn't feel like it while you're doing it. Anyways, yeah. So tomorrow I'll try this initialization scheme that I've cooked up in my head, and hopefully that solves it. And happy coding. Bye.